Laserburn, Brian Ansell's masterpiece that kicked off and defined the genre of sci-fi skirmish rules for a generation. I'm not going to go into the whole history of this game. A lot of other people have done that, including me already. I'm not going to go into the rules so much. I just want to sell you on the rules by pointing out they're really not as bad as the reputation makes them out to be. The rules are not written in perhaps as clear and concise and methodical a method as we are used to in today, 2025. However, everything you need is right here. And in order to play this game, all you have to do is remember things. I know some people have a hard time with that. I have an increasingly hard time with it myself now that I'm on the downslope side of 50. But if you are at all reasonably intelligent and you can remember things, you won't have a hard time with this rule set. Every figure has three main stats: a weapon skill, which is shooting, a combat skill, which is fighting, and an initiative level. And they oddly enough, right, weapon, initiative, combat, and that's expressed as weapon, combat, initiative for some reason. Not hard. The weapon skill, it's a roll under percentile mechanic. It gets a little bit tricky because you do have quite a substantial list of modifiers, but they come to you pretty quickly. And a lot of these modifiers are gun specific anyway, so you can factor those into the weapon that you're using. The combat skill is both combatants roll a percentile dice, add their combat skill. Whoever rolls higher might have done damage. The overall steps are check to see if you hit, check to see the location, and then if there's armor, check to see, basically make an armor save. They use a slightly different language, but that's all there is to it. So it's really not all that complicated. You're going to see that as we play out today's game. Before we play out the game, let's take a look at our combatants. I have decided to go with an asymmetric battle featuring 4 heavily armed, highly advanced Marines, perhaps from space, going up against the Purple Redemption. Now, in this book, they're called the Red Redemption. I, of course, painted my Redemption in purple robes. So we might not call them Red Redemptionists. Not going to call them purple. Just to make it simple, we may just call them Redemptionists. That concept comes from a French comic that was popular at the time. So if you have a problem with me using that particular name for these cultists, then blame the French. We are more than happy to do that here in the Anglosphere. So let's talk about the various capabilities. Normally, everybody starts with an initiative of 10. You roll a d10, you add your initiative, and then whoever has the highest score goes first. We just count down and go in descending order. The boys over here in power armor, they have a -5 to their initiative because of the armor. They're carrying heavy bolt rifles. That's a further 5, so they have an initiative of 0. They have a weapon skill of 110, meaning they'll hit 110% of the time, absent any other factors, but as I showed you, there are a lot of other factors. So it's not going to be 100%. Unless the Redemption does something pretty stupid. They have a combat skill of 55. And for those of you that are familiar with this game, who've been playing for 45 years, forgive any errors I may make in my playthrough, and also be aware I've used the standard template for each of these guys. Weapon skill of 110, combat skill of 55. So on a man-for-man basis, the guys in the suits aren't so much better than the guys in the Redemption. However, their weapons are crazy good, and they're wearing power armor, which is going to make it hard for these robed guys to penetrate their armor. Most of these guys, the 6 here in the back, have a machine pistol, which is really not very good against power armor. About the best they can hope for is to force some duckbacks. We'll counter that a little bit with the scenario that we set up, but we're also going to counter that with 3 special weapons, and that's what these 3 guys here are all about. As you can see, we have a rocket launcher, we have a missile launcher. I'm sorry, this is a missile launcher. I know it looks like an RPG. We're going to call it a missile launcher. We have a bolt rifle. That's this thing here with the kind of chain gun looking thing. And interestingly enough, this figure looks almost like a las rifle for those of you that play the 40K, except that las rifles don't have, I don't think, they have like energy packs, not like bullet belts like that, right? And then a hand flamer. Now, they call it a hand flamer, even though in our modern games, our hand flamer is more pistol sized. This guy here with the gas mask, we're going to call it a flamer. It's only got 2 charges. And so these are the 3 guys that can really put the hurt on our advanced military. The leader here has a slug gun and a force sword. We'll turn them so you can see the force sword. It's there in bright orange to stand out against the purple. This is a 4,000 point game. 4,000. It's 3,000 points to these guys and 4,000 points to these guys, right? So again, The machine pistols in the back, those 6 guys, they cannot penetrate the power armor. Every hit has a 10% chance of forcing a duck back, and duck back is powerful. You got to get into cover, you got to hunker down, and then you have to take the entire next turn doing absolutely nothing. So it's going to be a lot of push and shove in this one. I think, the only thing you can do is roll or crawl. 2 things you can do with this game. Kind of interesting. So now, with all of that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the terrain. Oh, the Redemptionists, because they're wearing just, I should talk about their armor a little bit. They're all wearing flak body armor. They get hit and then I think they're wearing helmets too. Most of these guys are wearing helmets. We'll call it helmets. Like this guy here with a little happy face, he definitely has one. But they're wearing flak vests. So if they get hit in the arms or legs, it's not, the armor doesn't help them. But if they get hit in the chest, then it will. And that means they have an initiative of 10, which means they are going to be dictating the flow of battle. They're going to get to move first, generally speaking, in every turn. We're on the outskirts of a desert colony city somewhere on a planet that probably has more than just desert. But this particular battle is going to take place in the desert. First thing I want to point out is that the terrain that you see is representative. We're going to assume that anyone who is in contact with a piece of terrain is taking advantage of the little bushes and brush and pipes and divots in the ground to put themselves in cover. Doesn't matter what direction you're looking at the guy. If I'm here and he's touching this building, he's taking advantage of whatever cover you don't see. The stuff that's not really represented by the miniatures on the table. Again, this is impressionistic. There's details that exist below our level of representation. Because we have an asymmetric fight, we're going to try to get our Marines from outer space from the left side of the table over to the right side of the table. They can take whatever path they want, but they just have to get off that side of the table over there. And I do have some brush in the corners, which means they're going to be kind of funneled into the middle. Notice our Redemptionists start inside their compound. This is the Red Redemption Waco, except they are coming out, and they're going to come out first. So the way that I've set up this scenario, they have to really hustle to get themselves into position to lay down their ambush. And of course, they're going to take advantage of cover. And once they're in cover, they don't have to move. It's going to be those guys' job. There's a couple of other things I haven't talked about. We'll get to it as we get to it, I guess you could say. Things like grenades, smoke bombs, and all of that. I'm not going to do a whole lot of analysis. I just want to see how much fun this game is to play. And I think the answer is pretty obvious that it's going to be a real hoot. I don't like that bright pink. I'm going to turn it. There we go. Get a little more variety in there. This game did, of course, inspire dozens, if not hundreds of other sci-fi skirmish games, kind of set the tone for the next 20 years. I know there's others that kind of broke the mold from this, but this is the big one, man. People played this for a reason. People made games that followed in its footsteps for a reason. One last thing we should probably talk about before we get started. We do need to track ammo for each of these guys. Not entirely sure how we're going to do that. Not sure how we're going to handle all the markers. Kind of going to figure it out as we go. Be patient. Be kind in the comments. If you know how to play the game, just be cool, man. Tell me. Just be cool. The lowest score that the Redemptionists can get is an 11. The highest the Marines can get is a 10. That means the Redemptionists get to move first. And I don't have to worry about who's, which is which. They're all going to move. I just went ahead and already moved them. And as you can see, we've got our Burninator down here in the foreground. He is going to race through the by and large tank farm and drum farm. The leader is down here kind of in the center between, we've got the heavy machine gunner there. We've got the rocket launcher here, and here's the leader. And then way over here, you can't really see him, but hiding in these bushes, I've got 3 more of the guys with the machine pistols. They basically have Uzis, because Uzis are cool. They used all of their movement to kind of get to the fence, get over the fence, and then get into this situation. Probably one more turn of setup, or maybe just race these guys around. The Marines are on Overwatch. They are not stupid. They're keeping an eye out for threats. They do have clear line of sight to these 3 slug gunners down here. The range is 65 centimeters, which translates to the table as 65 meters. The problem they have is that firing from Overwatch cuts your weapon skill in half, 55%. That's the best they can do. However, because the guy just appeared, there's a penalty for that. They're at -2 per centimeter. I pre-measured at 65 centimeters. They're at a total probability to hit of negative something. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's a negative, they can't roll it. that means they got to move, and we have to decide how to move it. I think the idea for these guys is going to be to try to swing around this way, blow Burninator out of the water. So he's over here. See him in the By and Large Tank Farm? So face those guys head on, drive them from the table, and maybe they can get off the table that way. They're going to move. Now, the downside of moving first for the redemption is that they don't have any opportunity to fire, at least on this turn. That's going to give these guys the ability to run. That takes all of their movement, and they're going to be able to move 20 meters, which it translates to 20 centimeters. So we can run them around over here, and they'll wind up somewhere right about here. As you can see, they are in classic diamond formation, one facing front, left, right, back. They don't know where the threat is coming from just yet. We're doing a little bit of light role play. It's that kind of game. End of turn 1 means we turn our attention back to the redemption on turn number 2. Here's our 3 gunmen, just looking to force and slow down the Marines until backup can arrive. There's a leader back here. We'll talk about what he does later. The Burninator is running wide around. He wants to get right up in their grill. So we've brought the missile launcher a little bit closer, and they can't act on this turn, but maybe next turn. On the far side of the table, we take a look way over here. These 3 guys have decided we've got one who can act pretty soon. He's right here. But then the other 2 are going to swing way wide. See them over there behind? They're going to try to come around this strange idol and maybe filter down through here. Maybe they can get these Space Marines in some kind of a crossfire. The Marines are in a much better position than you might think. They can move up to 10 centimeters. That's your 10 centimeters right there. So we're going to bring one up here into cover. We'll bring one over here. We'll bring another right there. And then this last guy, let's go ahead and swing him way wide. We're going to bring him up to try and maintain security over on this side. He's going to come over and just kind of hunker down in the doorway of this house right here. He needs to try to slow these guys down up on the far side of the table. He has moved 20 centimeters. He's done for the turn. These 3 guys only move 10 centimeters. Maybe we ought to bring him up here. We're going to stick him right there. I feel like if I put him up there, that's kind of more of a terrain movement. As you can see, there's little steps here to get up onto the metal. So whatever this is, we got 3 guys that are now lined up nice and tight, and we can actually do a little bit of shooting. So how does that work? Well, it's pretty simple. Remember, they have a skill of 110, and then you just run down the modifiers. Let's take a look, and we'll just declare, let's go from this guy 1, 2, 3, okay? And they're just going to open fire at their counterparts 1, 2, and 3, and we'll see what happens. We're dealing with heavy bolt rifles here, so the first thing you notice is that a heavy bolt rifle has a penalty of -1 per centimeter. The distance between our figures, 21 centimeters. So let's just figure out all of our modifiers, and then we'll compare that to our weapon skill of 100. Because our fire or move, we're at -15. So that's a total of -36. Anything else? If you're wearing power armor, you're at -15. So we're at a total of -51 now. Anything else? We've got options for wounding. If the target is moving, well, the target did move, so I guess that's going to be a -10. And then target is behind cover. That's an additional -10. You add all of those up, and I've already forgotten what it is. It was 21, 15, so that's 36, 41, 51 because of the power armor, and then another 21. So it's -71 to try and hit. All right, so -71. We take 110, subtract the 71 from that. That gives us a 39% chance to hit, but we're going to fire on semi-auto. We can fire 2 shots. At -6 each, we get 2 shots at 33. So we'll roll. We're trying to roll under here. A 90 will be a miss, and I should point out, if you roll doubles, it's an automatic miss for some reason. And our second shot is going to be an 08. That means we got a hit. So what happens there? Well, then we have to take a look at the hit location chart. It's just a simple percentile check. So we roll our percentile. We get a 69. And that's going to hit in the lower body. I want to see how the penetration table works. So we're going to say that their flak armor protects everything from the neck to the waist. So basically, on this hit location chart, if we get right leg, right arm, left arm, or head, that's where those guys are going to be in big trouble. But because they're wearing flak or mesh armor, there's a 60% chance that the round penetrates the armor. We're firing bolt guns, which are called gyro rifles, and that means that at 21 meters, that's long range, we have, so there's gyro rifle. At long, we have no modifier to that. So that means there is a 60% chance that it's going to punch through. We just roll, and anything under 60, we get a 99. That means that the round did not penetrate the armor. This guy was protected. However, the combat is not done at that point. Just because the armor protected you doesn't mean that you're not shook. So we have a after failed penetration. Throw a D6. We got hit by a gyro bolt. We're wearing flak or mesh. So on a 1, 2, or 3, there's no effect. On a 4 or 5, we're knocked over. And on a 6, our boy is just straight up KO'd. So with a 4, he's going to be knocked over. I'm going to lay him down. Kabow. So he got hit in the hip, and he has had quite enough of that. Then we can check. I'm just going to roll really quick. It just so happens to be 21 centimeters from this guy to this redemptionist. So we're going to fire 2 more shots, and that's going to be a hit with the first, and we're looking for a 33. A 93 will be a miss. Then we check for the hit location. So we're going to roll on this chart again. And we get a 91. We're rolling the hot dice. That means we're hit in the left leg this time. No armor means we automatically have our penetration. So we're going to go to roll a d10 to find out what it is. We're firing with our slug throwers, incendiaries, force blades. Yeah, so it's going to be this one right here. And on a result of a 4, if you get hit in a limb, a result of a 4 is a serious wound. I think that's... Am I missing anything? Lasers, melee, slug, inner blast areas, monoblades, hand flamers. Yeah, there we go. So he takes a serious wound. And I'm going to drop one of our red chips. It's a serious wound to the leg. And I'll look that up in a second. Let me go ahead and roll the dice for this last redemptionist right here. We get a 40 on the first shot and a 44 on the second. Doubles is an automatic miss. So that's it. These 3 guys have all fired 2 shots. And we're just about done. Let's take a look at what happens when you have a serious wound. Conveniently enough, it says right here on the limb is unusable for the rest of the action at least. If leg, he may hobble at half speed only. Any serious wound KOs the figure, so we're going to lay him down. At the end of every subsequent turn, we're going to roll a d6 for each of these figures. On a result of a 6, he'll stand up and continue to fight. A second wound to that leg, serious wound, will permanently disable it. He will permanently be at half movement. So we have a little bit of campaign stuff going on here in this game. Again, it translates to RPGs fairly well. Because it ends turn number 2, we can turn our attention to turn number 3, where we're going to open fire with this auto gun. Pew, pew, pew to this guy right here. That'll be the first thing that the redemption does. The machine pistols are wildly inaccurate. They are -4 per centimeter. At 21 centimeters, that's not great. So we're going to move him up to here, the full 10 centimeters, to get him to within 11 now. That's going to change the calculus a little bit. He's also going to use an action to rest his weapon on this block. That gives him a +10. And then he's going to fire at this Marine who is behind cover. That gives him a -10. At 11 centimeters, these slug throwers, these Uzis, are wildly inaccurate. They are at -4 per centimeter. That's -44 altogether. So we have to go back to our modifiers. And so we're going to fire on full auto. We're going to fire 5 times at -10. The firer has moved. We're at -25 altogether. The target... What else we got? The fire slug gun, right? We're at -15 for that. So if we just take a look at these, we're at 25, 40, and I'm not counting the distance yet. 40, the target is not moving, but he is behind cover. So that's 50, and then we're at +10 for resting our weapon. So we're at a total of 40, I think, and then he's firing with -44. So that's a total of -84. Let me just double check those numbers. At 84, remember weapon skill of 110, we are at 86. That means we have a 26% chance of hitting. So we'll roll 5 times. We get a 52, we get a 72, we get a 72. Not looking so good. 47. We just need 26. And an 11. So we hit a single time. That takes us back over to the hit location. We roll and get a 38. We're going to hit him, although it doesn't really matter because he's armored the same everywhere. A 38 means we hit him in the upper body. So we get him in the chest, and then we have to check for, did we get penetration? We have power armor. 10% chance that we do. We are at medium range, right? Again, we're at 11 meters on the tabletop. So at 11 meters, a slug pistol. Actually, this is a machine pistol, isn't it? Oh, geez, minus 20. So we're already at negative 10, so it's not going to happen. But there is a chance, right? So we have this, if we, after failed penetration, with a slug thrower, oh, look, on a 1 to 6, there's no effect. However, that's not necessarily true. Because of this rule right here, if the target is hit or the shot is stopped by armor, then there is a chance the target is forced to duck behind cover or dive to the ground. The chance varies with armor. For each shot, if we only hit him once, there's a 10%. If we score less than or equal to that, then he has to duck behind cover. He must remain there for the remainder of the current move and all the next, and all he can do is roll or crawl. So 10% chance that we're going to have any effect whatsoever. With a 33, we don't. Hey, this is a Hail Mary for these guys. All we're really trying to do is pin them down. So that's going to be it for this guy who's got 5 more turns of shooting. Now we roll for recovery for these two, and we'll be able to move our camera to see who else is doing what. So I get a 6 and I get a 5. So these knocked out guys remain knocked out. Or maybe I should fire this missile first. This missile launcher guy has 2 shots. He's going to fire at this Marine from space right here. And I don't see any modifiers. Oh, here we go. Firing missile launcher. No, see, I don't even see firing missile launcher. It's moving target. He's not firing at a moving target yet. We're not going to give him the resting weapon. It's a shoulder mounted thing. So I think I don't see any. Let's see, shoulder arm maybe. He's not firing at point blank range though. I don't see any. I don't see any modifiers for that missile launcher, which means he doesn't have. Really, the only thing we have to worry about is our distance, and a missile launcher is at -2, so he's going to be at -64. -60, 110 minus 64 is going to be a 44% chance to hit. That's the best chance we've seen all day out of these guys. 44, we get a 51. That is a miss. But maybe it's okay, because when you miss, you have this grenade variation table. I think that applies for missiles as well. The difference between what you rolled and the number needed to hit is the number of centimeters that you have variation. That, for us, is going to be 7 centimeters. There's a chance somebody could still be hit. Then we roll a d10, and I'll show you the scatter chart after I roll that. So on an 8, this right here is the scatter chart. See, the 8 means that it hits a little bit short. We're going to roll it. We're going to bring it right back along the path of travel. 7 centimeters means that that missile is actually going to impact right here. Kablam. And if we take a look at, I didn't even declare what kind of missile it was, did I? We have a couple of really interesting templates. Here, let's call it, on a 1, 2, or a 3, it's concussion. 4, 5, or 6, it's the high explosive. So it's concussion. And the concussion missile has this template right here. So instead of dropping a clear template down, these guys use one of these like cutout templates. And for our purposes, what I need to know is, what's the radius of that bad boy? It looks like it's 8 centimeters. Given that, that means that if we center it, it's going to be like so. So we need to miss within 4 if we really want to catch anybody. We might, oh no, I take it back. Maybe we did get him, because that 7 centimeters is going to land right here. I think our missile impacts on this terrain piece, and we are just, how far away is he? He's about 3 centimeters. So I think we're just outside. It didn't do us any good. He misses. Now we can move our camera and we can take a look at some of these other guys who are going to be running around like a bunch of maniacs. Get a little better zoom in there. And our Burninator is going to be running 20 centimeters over to, let's bring him right to about here. We'll take cover behind the corner of the building. and we'll pause him right there. I got one more fire team to move. The heavy machine gunner is going to stay back here. I've got one guy in front of the idol, one behind the mysterious idol, and then one guy by the hot rod. Here's our burninator. They have only moved. That's all they've done. Remember, this guy, this Marine, also moved. He's standing in cover in that doorway right there. That's not the end of the turn because our Marines now have an opportunity to repay their enemies in kind. And in this case, I think what I want to do we want to see what melee looks like? I think we do. If we can get into contact with this guy, we're only about 10, 15 centimeters away. So we're going to go rush up and we're going to get into contact. I'm going to bring this guy. I'm inclined. Maybe we do this instead. Maybe we need to get a little bit closer to that guy. That missile launcher, if it lands, is going to be absolutely devastating. So why don't we bring this guy a little bit closer? And we have, by the way, we do have a leader over here who hadn't acted yet. So maybe he waits. And now that the Marine closes in, we can open fire. But he's got a pistol, so he's really not good. He's hoping to get into hand-to-hand combat. And then this guy can move 10 to here. And then he'll get into melee combat. So we can play around with those rules a little bit. And this guy can move 20 centimeters. So we're just going to bring him right up to here. And when you run, you can still shoot, but you're at minus 45. The other thing I don't like here is we are way too close. Let's bring him up to here. Let's do that. And then this guy says, well, I'm going to fire. Okay, but because his target ran, that's going to be an issue for him. Distance between them, we're going to call it 8 centimeters. He is firing with a pistol. We're going to fire one shot at close range, total penalty of 57, meaning he's got a 53% chance to hit. Oh, let's call it 63 actually, because he's bracing his pistol on those drums. With a 39, he's going to hit, and he's going to hit this guy in the 79, which translates to the right leg. And once again, there's no chance of penetration, but we have a 10% chance of forcing a duck back. 25 means that isn't going to happen. We can now take a look at melee. Both of these figures are going to roll percentile. I'm going to roll the green dice for the power armor guy. I'm going to roll the red die is the tens dice. So 59 to 73. Then you add your combat skill. Both of these guys have a combat skill of 55. And you take the difference between those. No, that's not true. After double checking, the winner has his combat score as a percentage to score a hit. In other words, whoever wins this throw has his combat skill of 55. That's what we do. That's what we roll to see if he actually hit. I think given how close we are, I'm going to roll these on a 29. That's going to be a successful hit. See, there's the 2 and the 9. And then we roll for, oh, by the way, power armor gives you ×4 to your score. So yeah, power armor is going to win these every single time. We are going to score a hit in the 38, which is the upper body. Is it a penetrating hit? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. A 39, the flak, there is a 60% chance that you are going to penetrate. So, yep. So that is the case. And then we roll a d10 to find out what the severity of that is. Because we are in melee, other melee weapons we'll call it, that is a light wound to the body. See that? So we rolled an 8. We hit the body. That is a light wound. The effect of a light wound is, well, here's serious wounds, blinded. What else we got? Disablement. That is no effect. I'm a little surprised by that. In the arm, you drop a weapon. In the leg, your movement is slowed. In the head, you reduce all of your chances to hit by 25%. It says 1/4, but I think you do 25%. That's probably better way to do that, which means we're going to have to fight another round of combat next turn. We are on the next turn. And again, everybody's in Overwatch. So the guys who get to go first are the Redemption. I'm going to slide over so we can see where all the real action is. And then we'll bring the other guys moving up after we see what happens here. So the first thing I'm going to do is roll for recovery for these two guys that are on the ground. I'm going to roll black die for the guy who is nearest to the camera. I get a pair of sixes. They both go, hey, what? Okay, that's a little crazy. So they stand up and they can fight, but they do have the heavy wound, which will add additional modifiers to their ability. And all of the purple guys get to go first. After movement, we fight this combat. So we can re-roll those to find out what happens. The power armor guy gets a 65. This guy gets an 85. But remember, this was a 65. So we got 65 to 85, but we multiply this by 4. That means this guy is going to take the hit. And he's going to take the hit in the location, which is an 83. So this time he takes it in the legs, the right leg to be more specific. And we roll to find out, because there's no armor, we just find out what the effect is. And with a result of a 9, that's going to be, so checking in the limb, that is a light wound. They don't stack, so really all that means is this guy is slowed down a little bit. So that was the movement for him, and then we get to do a little bit of shooting. Now with the heavy wound here, and the previously knocked out here, these guys are at minus 25 to hit. We're going to go ahead and open, we're just going to unload. Okay? Blah, 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 blam. We're going to have to fire, I'm going to use a smaller dice because we're so much closer, and we're going to see with all 5 dice what happens here. We get a 27, we get a 41, 20, 89, and a 20. So which of those are hits? Given how close we are, we need a 15 to hit, even at close range, because this heavy wound gives you a minus 45 to hit. The firer with a heavy wound, each serious wound is minus 40 rather. This guy does not have a serious wound. Remember, he was only KO'd, and that means that he is only going to have a minus... Did he have a head wound? I don't think so. Oh, light wounds. Oh, there you go. So, look at that. See, light wounds do give you a minus 15. So he's going to be at minus 15 on any of his shots. All right. This guy then is going to take 5 shots. And he's going to go with a 38. He's a lot closer. Actually, maybe we should just bring him around to here. I know that makes it a lot harder. An 05, that's going to be 1 hit. That's 63. We get a 96. And we get a 43. So that's 1 hit on this guy. And there's a 10% chance it forces a duck back. That's all we really need to roll. I got a 19 there. I know you guys probably can't see that. I just love the way this looks when we're so close. It feels like you're in the action, doesn't it? The other thing moving out of the way here does is it allows this guy to open fire with his slug pistol one more time. Just trying to slow him down. We're going to get a 34, and that's going to be a hit. And then just looking for that 10% with an 09. Right, so that's what we were looking for. Not going well. He's got to duck back. And so he can't do anything this turn. He can't do anything next turn either, which complicates the lives for these guys considerably. Now, there is one problem we do have, though. Our missile launcher, he cannot fire right now because there is a chance. There's a 2% chance that he hits this guy if he misses. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring him up here for now. We'll leave him right there, and then he can drop a missile on these 2 guys next turn. Remember, he can't do anything next turn. So we launch the missile, and then we'll really have to race out of there to get out of the way. Unfortunately, he didn't realize that this guy was waiting for his chance. He's going to move up here, and he's going to, because he's opposite the missile launcher, let's do something a little bit dramatic. Let's say the missile launcher guy was not defending himself from that quarter, and that means our Space Marine is going to get to act, and he's going to get to double tap, blam blam, at the missile launcher. Let's roll the dice. We'll roll for the 2 hit. We get a 41, and we get a 71. The 41 might hit because we are at 9 centimeters. That's minus 18 for 92 as a base. 82 because he moved. Looking at total penalties of 54 means we need a 56. One of those is going to hit Mr. Missile Launcher in the 24. 24 means we hit him in the left arm. That's going to be a problem for him. The left arm means that we have no armor, so we roll to find out what our effect is, and a result of a 7 on a limb with a gyro slug thrower, lasers, inner blast areas, other melee weapons, slug throwers, heavy weapons. It must be a slug thrower, right? 7 on the limb is going to be a light wound. He's going to be at -15 to hit with his missile launcher on the next turn. But that does expose our Space Marine. We're going to bring our Burninator around to darn near point blank range, and he's going to be 5 centimeters away. And the Hand Flamer, as we call it, uses a template that looks a little something like, where is it? Oh, maybe it doesn't. I thought I had a template on here, but I'm not seeing it. There's a template for something called a Sun Gun. It's not a template, but it is a short-range weapon, as evidenced by the fact that we're at -6 per centimeters. 5 centimeters away means we're at -30 just for that. We're rolling at a 46, and this is going to be a close one. We moved, he moved, total of -25 for that, so it's -55 altogether. That puts us at a total of 55 to hit. The 46 does hit, and now we get to have some fun. Take a look. The Hand Flamer all the way down here at the bottom. Now there's no range penalty at all for that. And then if we look here, so for power armor, we have a +50% chance to penetrate that power armor, which normally is a 10. Now it's a 60. A 49 means we are absolutely going to get through. Oh, I forgot to check for location. A 32 is upper body. So we hit him in the upper body with that flamer, and now things get even worse for him because Hand Flamers we roll on this chart right here. The body is this. So on a 1 through 4, he's dead. 1, this Marine from space is toast. Almost literally. We're still not done with the redemption. I got a couple of guys who want to do a little bit of moving. The Heavy Stubber wants to get in the action. He runs out of the compound, jumps the fence, gets over to here. Our sweep squad is now, we got 2 guys over there. They want to get in on the action as well. There's a 3rd guy somewhere. Where'd he go? Oh yeah, there's 1, 2. Where'd that 3rd guy go? I guess I'm not sure where I brought him up. So that's it for the redemption. Now we do have a couple of other guys that get to go. And of course, the guy who's laying down there, he is not one of them. Instead, we're going to look down here. And the question is, what do these 3 do? And the answer to that is going to be fairly simple. I think we got to try and leap over the barrier. We're going to get to this guy and we're going to fight in some hand-to-hand. That missile launcher is going to be terrifying. We want to make sure that we have a good spread for our boys, and we're going to have to do 2 combats. I also noticed here that on our little cheat sheet, on our QR sheet, we do have all of the melee modifiers up here. So if you are firing with a handgun or a shoulder arm, you can add these, but I don't really understand how those work, to be honest with you. Each opponent over 1, and look at this. If you won the preceding round, you're at +40. Really what this means is, I don't see any way. We're just going to roll. I'll do this one here, but there's no way for the unarmored guys to win this fight. He gets a 46. The guy in the power armor gets a 49. Quadrupled. Power armor is going to win. He's going to hit his opponent in the 71, which is going to be the right leg. I think this is a mistake. Now that we get into this, the right leg, it's absolutely going to penetrate, and we're going to do a wound. And with a result of an 8 on the limb, you want to roll low on this chart. The other question is, there are some other combat factors that they just don't even factor in. If your opponent has a serious wound, they're at -60. But look, using an armored fist, that gives you a +30. And these guys are using their bare hands. So maybe the smart thing to do on the next turn is to have these guys just back off. There is no free hack in this game, at least no rule that I'm familiar with or that I could find on such short notice. So ultimately, that means we deliver another light wound to this guy, and that doesn't really mean a whole lot. For each light wound, you do have -15 to shooting, so maybe you just like load up on those. And then again over here, the Redemptionist gets a 68, and the guy he's fighting gets a 60. So again, the Redemptionist, by the way, is at a considerable minus for his heavy wound on a 24. That's going to hit him in the left arm. And then we get I just got to roll one time to find out what the result is. And on a result of a 3 on the limb with other melee weapons, that's going to be another light wound. We need a 1 or a 2 to get a serious wound on that limb. I don't see any modifiers on this. So maybe it's not a force blade. So that's going to be a real problem, particularly because he hasn't gone yet. And so if we bring him over, then now he gets to have the benefit of the doubt. He's got a power weapon, and he rolls a 77. His opponent rolls a 97. So again, like I don't see how this is going to work. I don't see how this is going to work out well at all, to be honest with you. If you are using a sword, you have a bonus of 100. But that's not enough to overcome the 4 times, right? I don't think that the power sword is going to do any good here. Instead, the leader is going to take a shot to the left arm, and he's going to lose the, so 8. Again, it's a light wound. Doesn't really do a whole lot. And we're getting down into that order, that part of the battle where, we're just kind of doing the dice off. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move him out of the way. He says, I've had enough of this. So we'll break off all of these guys. Now, he's got a leg wound, so he's also going to break away, because the next thing that happens is we bring the heavy stubber down here, and he's going to start laying down some serious covering fire. So I'll bring it up so you can see where he is. He comes up to here. Our missile launcher, he's going to target, let's target this guy right here. Remember, he's still recovering until next round. So we're going to fire here, and that is at a distance of 13 centimeters. It's through cover, I guess. So with the missile launcher, we are at -2, so we're at -26. And the nice thing about this game, a 93 is going to be a huge miss. Now, I do need to calculate all of this, because we have to check out, we have to figure out what was our 2-hit roll. Big miss, huge, what do you call it? Huge, that shot is going to scatter a long distance. It may not be as bad as I thought. We're at a total of -36. Meaning we only needed to roll a 74. So we missed by 19 centimeters. Yeah, that's gonna go wild. We roll a 0 on our, so it's gonna fall short by 14 centimeters. Oh my goodness, that is not good at all. And then this guy is within 4. It's going to hit all 3 of these figures. It went off in the barrel, I guess, is what happened there. The 0, if you need to see when we roll the 10, that means it's the direction of the throw. So remember, it was 13 centimeters away. We missed by 14. It's going to stop right here. I think the only 2 guys actually that get hit are him and him. And that's not going to go good for the guy with the missile launcher. Although we were done with him to begin with, weren't we? So he's going to take a hit in the 53 in the lower body. And the guy on the ground will take a hit on the 87 is the left leg. Somehow the concussion, the shrapnel got him anyway. So with the missile launcher, we have to look at this explosion A, B, and C. The cultist there, the redemptionist, he is wearing flak and mesh. Because he's right on top of the thing, he's got a -5 to the check. Now, normally it's 60%, but that -5 means it's -5 to the die roll. So he's going to get his armor penetrated on a 65. And then the guy in the armor, he is now down here at explosion B. So he actually has, and with his power armor, he's at -30. So wait a minute. I must be doing this wrong. This must mean that you're at 55 and you're at -20. Because the further out you are, the less likely you are to be damaged. That's what's going on here. So a greater minus means a greater chance that you survive. So I think the guy in the armor is going to be okay. We're rolling for the flak. 35, he's going to take a hit. And that hit is going to be a 7. And I think with him, we said it's going to be in his lower body, which is just, God, people are really survivable in this game. He just took a missile to the bread basket, right in the brisket. And I think that's incendiary gyro bolts. That's about it. So on a 7, serious wound. Yeah, no, when you're rolling on this one, man, on a 1 through 4, you're toast. Okay. So he's going to take another sucking chest wound. And the guy on the ground is going to be, we'll roll, but I think at minus 30, he's okay. So with a result of a 30, yeah, he's going to be just fine. And then is that the end of the turn? I think it is. We're going to draw the shade here. This guy still has to spend one more turn is on the ground, which is going to give them time to catch up to him. And I didn't even roll for this guy shooting yet. We get a shot here. But I got to be honest with you, this is going to go on for a good long while. This video is going on to about an hour in length by the time I get it edited down. And I think I've given you guys a really good indication of what this game looks like. You can fight 5 to 10 guys. It's probably going to take you a couple of hours, though. It's very detailed. It's really not as complicated as people make it out to be. It's just a roll to hit. The big thing is that there is a lot of math. You do have to be able to add double-digit numbers, and I know a lot of modern people struggle with that. This is the kind of game that gave the hobby the reputation for being a hobby for smart people. And then everybody said, well, geez, can't we just dumb it down? And we'll just condense all of that math down into 3 range bands, long, medium, short. And we'll still feel smart because it's a smart guy hobby. But at this point, I'm kind of wondering if this level of complexity is too much for the average hobbyist. Is it still a hobby for really smart people? Or is it a hobby for normal people who want to feel really smart? I think that to look for the really smart guys, you got to look to the hex encounters. Because those are the guys that the word autism gets thrown around a little bit too much these days, but those are the guys with the dedication and the focus, and they can handle this kind of thing, and they can sit for 3-4 hours. I got to go watch a movie with my kids. I like them. I like hanging out with you guys. I like playing these games, but we've reached a point where it's pretty clear that with the single death, the redemption has done what they set out to do. They brought 3 heavy weapons. They sacrificed a couple of dopes. Couple of guys, the distractions, bait, if you will, for the power armor guys. And the big part of it is just that now that I've played through this and I've seen how melee works, I've bungled so much of the strategy. I'm ready to throw in the towel and try again next time. Maybe with a couple of different army lists. Maybe just maybe not so much with the power armor. Maybe we just roll with smaller forces, 4 to 5 figures each, flak armor. Little more punch, a little more effect, and we can get in and out in our standard 45-minute video. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll go 2 hours, whatever. It's fine. We're having a good time. Pushing some figures, rolling some dice. Gonna give victory to the redemption on this one. Till next time, I'm praying for you.